Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a video covering the brand new premium contract for the Soviet Tier 8 premium tank destroyer, the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS. Now if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS. And the first question that always gets asked about this tank, is it different to the standard KV-4 KTTS? And the answer is yes. This tank gets a 3-shot autoloader as opposed to the single shot of the standard KTTS that most people have through the battle pass from a couple of battle passes ago. And to be honest, it's pretty much the same in every other aspect. This tank is better than the KTTS for me because of that autoloader. That autoloader gives it that extra edge in gameplay in the fact that you can side scrape around a corner, or you can poke out around a corner, or just generally in a brawl, take a hit, either get penned or bounce a shot, and then deliver the 3-shot 960 clip into someone, and then pull back and get safe while you wait for your clip to reload. Whereas the standard KTTS has to poke out, chance the penetration or the bounce, and then fire, and then do it all over again, which means it can be in a position where it can trade. This thing can just, yeah, like I say, trade that one hit and then dish out a clip, which can be very nice for the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS. And to be honest, with the inconsistency of the armour, because the standard KTTS was trash when it first came out because the armour was poor. And then they buffed it, and then they released this as well with that same armour, and the armour is a lot better. It can bounce quite a lot when it's top tier, quite easily, and then it can still bounce tier 9s and 10s, but not reliably. The problem is in the fact that the armour is a little bit inconsistent and can be a bit of a pain to use at times, so it's something you've just got to be very, very careful of, and that can be a bit of a frustration with the vehicle, as well as just being that little bit slow and sluggish as well. But having that autoloader makes this vehicle a lot nicer for me personally than the standard KTTS, but that could be a preference because some people don't like autoloaders, they don't like how they play, they might enjoy the standard one more than this vehicle, right? But for me personally, I just feel like this is the better version of the tank because of that autoloader and the burst damage. But it is available for you to freely earn in a contract. So if you want to find the contract, you go to the Challenges tab, flick over to the contracts, and it will be at the bottom of the list to then have to hold A and get the contract. So let's have a look at this Ortherus KV-4 KTTS contract. So stage 1 is earn 2,400 or more XP in any number of battles and win a battle. And you can do that from tier 5 through Cold War in any of the classes. At stage 2, it's earn 4,800 or more XP in any number of battles, place in the top 5 XP earners on your team in a battle, and win 2 battles as well. Tier 5 through all the way through Cold War in heavy tanks and tank destroyers. At stage 3, it's deal 8,500 or more damage in any number of battles, destroy 2 or more vehicles while the enemy is less than 100 meters in a battle as well, so you've got to be very, very close to the enemy to be able to do that, and earn 9,600 or more XP in any number of battles, and this is from tier 5 up in a heavy tank or a tank destroyer. At stage 4, it's deal 17,000 or more damage in any number of battles, earn 19,200 or more XP in any number of battles from tier 5 through Cold War in a heavy tank or a tank destroyer. At stage 5, it's block 11,000 or more damage in any number of battles, damage enemy modules or crews in 27 battles, and earn 40,800 or more XP in any number of battles as well. And this is from tier 6 up in a heavy tank or a tank destroyer as well. And you can see the stage rewards down below as well, just above the skip stages section. So this stage you will get 3 days of premium, which is pretty nice. At stage 6, you've got to destroy 60 or more vehicles in any number of battles, earn 87,600 or more XP in any number of battles. And if it would stop skipping, that would be very nice. And you can do that from tier 6 up to Era 3 in Cold War in a heavy tank or a tank destroyer, and you'll get nearly a million silver for stage 6. At stage 7, you can destroy 125 or more vehicles in any number of battles, earn 189,600 or more XP in any number of battles, and again in heavy tanks or tank destroyers from tier 8 up to Era 3 in Cold War, and you'll get 2.1 million silver in that stage, which is pretty nice. And at stage 8, it's just earn 412,800 or more XP in any number of battles from tier 8 through to Era 3 in a heavy tank or a tank destroyer, and you will earn yourself the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS at that stage and get yourself a pretty decent tier 8 premium tank. And from the date of release for this video, you will have 68 days left to complete this contract, so over 2 months to be able to do it, which is a decent amount of time to be able to just grind away for a free premium tank, pretty much. And it's always nice when you can get free premium content just by using your time. So, for the KV-4 KTTS, or the Ortherus, I should say, realistically, what do I run in terms of a crew and equipment? Well, in terms of the crew for the Ortherus, I do run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanics, Steady Aim, Clutch Braking, Run and Gun, and Armour Angling. So I run Armour Angling to reduce the amount of damage coming into the tank, because again, it's the type of tank where I will poke to try and block a shot, but occasionally, again, this tank does take random shots and penetrations because the armor is a bit untrustworthy at times. So reducing the amount of damage coming into the tank by 5% for the brawly nature of this vehicle is why I do it. With Run and Gun to reduce the accuracy during movement, so that the accuracy during movement is down as low as possible, so that the aim circle does not bloom out as badly as it would do if I didn't take that. With Clutch Braking to make the track traverse better, so that I can turn this tank around. Since it is a limited traverse turret, I can get this tank and its gun turned on target as quickly as possible, with Steady Aim to make the accuracy in general better on this vehicle, and Trap Mechanic, because naturally it is a brawly tank destroyer, I am going to need my tracks back on as quickly as I can do, especially if I've already burnt my repair kit. And then, in terms of the equipment, I run vents, optics, and the traction system. Traction system to get the extra 3 kilometers an hour top speed out of it, but also the clutch braking effect of traction system as well, to be able to get the better track traverse, because it does turn pretty slowly if you don't help it. So I like to be able to make sure that these tracks turn as quickly as humanly possible. So again, if something tries to get around me, I can get the gun on target. Optics to be able to get the view range up as high as possible, and vents in general to make everything about the tank nicer, as obviously it's an autoloader, it can't run an advanced loader. It's nice to make the reload, the accuracy, the aim time, everything in general better about the vehicle with vents. And getting it up to that 484 metres of view range is also pretty nice for the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS, as it is as big as a house. It doesn't really have any camo as a tank destroyer, so it's nice to be able to spot the opposition tanks as they spot you, which is why I go for that as well. So you're not getting out-spotted as easily. But you could drop vents if you wanted to and run the powertrain instead to go, again, that little bit faster. You'll get about 39 to 40 kilometers an hour out of this. Give you that extra oomph in the engine so you can get up to your top speed. You could run the advanced gun laying drive to be able to make the aim time better, as it will have to... The gun does bloom out a little bit, so you might want to run the GLD so you can get that aim time in as quickly as possible, so you can get the gun aimed in and fire and get the damage out quicker. It's really down to you and how you want to play the vehicle. It's just always down to how you feel comfortable with the vehicle. And this tank does actually have a 40mm gun as well on the top of the tank, which does fully rotate. And if you're going to do that, I'd recommend full premium. 88mm of penetration on that premium round is not a lot, but it's enough to go through quite a few vehicles' sides, and a couple of the lightly armoured vehicles' fronts as well. But if you're using the standards, you won't do absolutely anything at all, because it's got no penetration at 51, and 51mm of penetration will just not even go through a lot of the sides of vehicles you'll face at tier 8, 9, 10, and tier 7 as well. So let's have a look at the statistics of the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS while it's fully kitted out. And as you can see, we've got a 38.5 km/h top speed, 13.2 km/h reverse speed, so it is very slow at reversing, be careful of that. 1200 horsepower engine, which is 11.97 horsepower per ton ratio, so it is pretty sluggish to get up to its top speed, so be careful of that with your Ortherus. 15% internal fire chance, you better believe it. It does like setting on fire, but it's very Soviet in that regard. 28.88 degrees a second on the hull rotation speed is not, again, it's not the fastest, but it's also not the slowest, and that's because we've helped it out as much as humanly possible with clutch braking and the traction system. 2.26 on soft, 1.35 on medium, and 1.17 on firm is not great ground resistances, and again, they do help hold the tank back a little bit. It's an argument that you might want to run off-road driving to be able to get those better, so that you can get up to your top speed a bit easier, but your horsepower per ton is not that great either, and that is not a helping factor in terms of getting to that top speed. So it might just be better to focus on other things. But again, it's down to you and how you feel confident playing the tank. You've got terrible camo, but that's because you're more of a heavy tank than you are a tank destroyer in terms of the big tank, that big, slow, hulking tank destroyer with good armor for your tier. You're not going to be relying on your camo, and especially with how slow it can be at times, you want to be on the front line, as if you are too far back, most of the time you'll find that you just can't keep up with the battle, and even then, sometimes you can't keep up with the battle anyway. 484 meters of view range means this tank can spot for itself, which can be pretty decent for it. You got 26.58 degrees a second on the turret traverse, as it does have a turret, being a turretless tank destroyer. but it's minus 45 degrees one way and 45 degrees to the left. Well, okay, make it better. 45 degrees to the left and 45 degrees to the right. That's how far the turret traverses each way. And that's how fast it will traverse at 26.58. It's not the quickest in the universe, but it is fast for a turreted tank destroyer. You've got 0.76 accuracy during rotation with 2.33 accuracy during movement. Now, the 0.76 accuracy during rotation is not too bad. 2.33 accuracy during rotation isn't great, which is why we've helped it with run and gun and all the other stuff so that it can be as low as that. So the aim circle isn't blooming out quite as much when you're moving this tank. 5 degrees gun depression can be a bit limiting on this tank, and especially with it being very, very tall. And it's a bit rear-mounted as well, which means that it can be pretty awkward to use this 5 degrees gun depression, so be careful of that with the Ortherus. You've got 2.26 second aim time, so it does take you a wee bit to get this gun aimed in, and that's not the best aim time in the universe, which is why you could run the GLD if you wanted to, with a 0.3 accuracy at 100 meters, which isn't too bad realistically. And 20.3 second reload, which is 2.1k DPM, but you don't really pay attention to DPM too much with autoloaders, as it is all about that burst capacity. And this vehicle does have a 3-shot autoloader, which has a 3-second intra-clip reload. So it will take 6 seconds from firing the first shot to dish out that 960 damage. So it does take a little bit to get the shots out. It's not like some of the faster autoloaders that go bang, bang, bang. It does take that little bit longer, but it's still nice to have that autoloader. You've got 227mm of penetration on the standard AP, 289mm of penetration on the premium APCR, and 62mm of penetration on the HE rounds. So you're not really going to take the HE too much because it takes a little bit too long to load the clip to use those HE rounds, but the AP and APCR penetration is pretty nice for 320 Alpha on this tank. It means that you'll pen most of the tanks you're going to face at tier 8 and even tier 9 with the 227mm of penetration, but if you can't pen them, you can just load 289 penetration, and especially for the tier 9s and 10s, you'll be able to pen most vehicles you're going to face, unless they are some of the really super heavily armoured vehicles, and even then you can pen them in the weak spots with that, which is quite good for the vehicle. You got 1,043 meters a second shell velocity on the AP, which is slightly above average, which is nice, but it still does have to give a decent amount of lead to hit targets. But 1,304 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APCR is very, very nice for the Ortherus, and that makes that gun handling feel even better because that shell velocity is beautiful. I mean, you don't have to give too much lead with it, which is good, and it's why a lot of people do fire pure APCR on this tank, because the second round is just better than the standard in terms of its penetration, but not just penetration, the general feel of the accuracy because of that velocity being so nice. And then you've got the 45mm gun, which has a 2.37 second reload. It's got 946 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APCR, which is the shell that I only recommend you take in that gun for 8 to 8mm of penetration, and that will just help you to keep the damage ticking over when you're reloading the autoloader, and especially when you get surrounded by a light tank and you fired your main clip and the light tank is still trying to get around you and keep behind you, you can use this gun to be able to just keep damage racking up on them, and it means that they can't just stop, and that can be quite a nice asset for this vehicle that got added a wee while ago when multi-weapon systems did get added. And the tank has a 150% silver bonus, which is on the low end of silver bonuses for tier 8, so it doesn't do as good a silver as some other vehicles, but it still does make decent silver, as it is a premium tank. But yeah, that's the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS. Like I say, it's a decent tank. It's not one that was dreadful like it was back in the day, or like the standard KV-4 KTTS was back in the day before it got buffed. It's just one of those that sort of is there. It's okay. And you will find that you'll do well sometimes with it, and sometimes you won't. That's the way it goes for the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS, but you can earn it for free through the contract system, which can be quite nice for it. So what I'm going to do now is send you into some replays where you can watch this tank in action, see how it handles, and just see if it's a bit of you or not, and see if it's worth your investment of time to be able to earn this free premium content. So as always, everybody, I will see you in the replays. So here we are in the replays with the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS. And we're on this first game, which is on this map, which is Rezeni. And on Rezeni, what I'm going to do is go to the castle, sit in the position around G4, and then I can try and shoot people through the little gap at FG3, and try and shoot people as they come into the castle, and then I can see what's going off on the map and progress in if I need to, or turn around. The matchmaking is, well, the worst it can be for us. It's very, very tier 10. And this is just what the KV-4 KTTS is like, realistically, on most floors. As you can see, we're a little bit slow and sluggish to get to our top speed. It's a little bit slow to get to position. So getting to the early game positions is a little bit difficult for this vehicle, as, yeah, it does struggle to get there. It's a slow tank, right? It's one of those things you're going to have to bear with if you play this vehicle. And naturally, with any tank that's slow, you might not enjoy it, because some people do enjoy the slow vehicles, right? It gives them time to roast their marshmallows and enjoy their life and scroll TikTok and do whatever. And some people don't. They want to be going zoom, zoom, being the zoomies, get into the battle and brawl it out. This vehicle is that slow and steady type where you can roast your marshmallows, you can scroll Instagram, you can watch a TV program at the same time while you try and get yourself into battle. Just don't text and drive, kids, because you'll crash into a rock, okay? I've not done that ever, possibly ever at all, okay? Don't do it. So, we've finally got the KV-4 KTTS, or the Ortherus, I should just refer to it as the Ortherus. We've got the Ortherus into position. There's a 268 version 5 directly in front of us. I don't want to get shot by that, to be honest, at this point, because the Object 268 version 5 will absolutely butcher us. Now, again, if he catches us at the wrong angle, he could bounce, but he's got 295 pen. That thing is going to go straight through us like knife through hot butter, and we don't want that. So we put a shot through the side of his turret. Go for the shot into the lower plate. We've got one shot left in the clip. Try and find it to the cupola, and it doesn't go in. And that's why I like the Ortherus over the KV-4 KTTS. If we were playing the standard KTTS, we would have got one shot into that guy's lower plate or the side of his turret and not managed to get another shot in, and then had to hide so that we didn't get blapped by his 152mm gun. But we managed to do 614 damage, and now we're ready to go in and try and get some shots into this Highlander. But I don't want to push too aggressively because the 268 version 5 is still knocking around. So we've got the premium loaded because we were anticipating shooting this Highlander, get a shot through his side of his turret. He's unfortunately dropped a little bit too low for me to get a shot into, and then we're just going to switch back to the standard AP as we don't need the premium APCR anymore. But now that that Highlander's gone, the 268 version 5's disappeared somewhere, we're going to move up. We see the VK4502A on my right. I could try and get shots at him, but I really want to pressure the two heavy tanks and the Murat on my left. So I'm always keeping an eye on that VK4502A, because you can never turn down free damage. Never. If you have the opportunity to shoot someone, always keep your eye on it. Don't just ignore them. Also, it's keeping your eye on him in case he decided to poke up. But now we're in the position I want to be in, which is side-scraping off of this building, and then I can get shots into this Murat. So we've got a shot that tracked and penned him, and there we go, yet again. This is why I love this version of the tank compared to the standard version. If we'd fired with the standard KTTS, we'd have put a shot into his tracks, tracked and penned him, and then we wouldn't have been able to keep him tracked, because we wouldn't have reloaded in time with the DPM we have on that vehicle to be able to keep him perma-tracked, and he would have been able to get off scot-free. So we've done 960 odd damage to that Murat, and he never did a shot damage to us. Whereas if we were in the standard KTTS, again, like I say, we would have only done one shot damage to him. So that's one of the nice things for the KTTS when you're using this autoloader. That's why I like the Ortherus with its autoloader. And that's why, again, it's just why for me that this tank is better than its standard variant. But there we go. So, we've come up on the 4005. He's fired, which is the opportunity to absolutely farm him. We are reloading the main cannon, so we've switched to the 45mm gun that's on the top of the turret, and that means we can get 3 shots into the back of him, put a shot into the back of the Conway. I was hoping to maybe finish that guy off, but the enemy team is capping. Now, we've got people behind us, 2 TDs, 3 TDs in fact, and a medium tank back towards the base, and I'm kind of hoping they'll get back, because this is going to be the pain of playing a slow tank and a tank like the Ortherus. In the fact that I know that if they get 2 people, they've got 2 people on the cap, I'm never getting back for 2 people on the cap. And even if they get 3 people on the cap, yeah, no chance. There is no chance of me getting back. I'm really reliant on my team getting back there to be able to reset. But obviously, we can't go and try and rush there, because something like this VK4502A could just poke out. Sorry, this ISM, in fact. I thought it was the 45028. This ISM could just try and drive out and shoot us in the side. So we've got 2 shots into the ISM there, into his side, into his turret front. put us up to 3.5k damage. He's pulled back, which means we can focus on trying to get back into a better position to defend. But sadly for me, the two TDs, even though the heavy tank gets spotted in our base and a medium tank, the TDs don't get in a position to be able to shoot them, and they cap out. And that is one of the pains with the KTTS. If it ends up being the opposition flanks break through, and you are on the front lines of the other flank, you just can't get back to defend. And sadly, we did finish with that 3.5k damage, 812 base XP on a loss, which meant, yeah, we just couldn't get back to defend in that tier 10 game. And it is a problem for a lot of slow tanks, right? That if you are going to be the main spearheader of an attack on the opposite flank, if you lose the other flank, there's very little you can do unless it's a small map to be able to get back and defend it. Unless it's a small map, like Wide Park, which could be the perfect kind of map for this tank, realistically. So on Wide Park, what I'm going to do is take it to a position that could still be a little bit awkward for us, because we've only got 5 degrees of gun depression, and 5 degrees of gun depression is a little bit limiting for the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS. But we're going to try and get into a position to poke through and shoot underneath this train car right here, because that will give us easy shots across the people along the E line, and it also stops their flank. But an M48 round panzer drives across. We try and snap the shot RBRT in, but sadly we miss. And the round panzer, I'm not sure what that round panzer were doing. And then we get shot by a medium tank in the side, and I just kind of ignored it because I thought he was going to stay safe. But in fact, it's a Mantis, and the Mantis is also YOLO'd. Not quite sure what he's doing, and he gets shut down. Sadly for me, though, he took a lot of our hit points because I did decide to ignore him. It's one of those things where I took a hit on my left, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to still chance it trying to get a shot into the guys along the E-line, as that tank's only going to shoot me once. But in fact, I didn't expect the Mantis to just full send into my team and then die. It is what it is. So we're trying to get over and get a shot into this Tiger 2, but you can see the 5 degrees of gun depression is a bit limiting. We can't quite find the shot into this. Oh, it's so frustrating. You know when you're trying to find that shot, but we're trying to get a shot through the front of his turret. It's never going to go through, realistically. I couldn't quite tell if he was stock through the bush at the time, but he's not. So we're going to try and get the shot into his cupola. This one goes through. We've got one shot left, and we managed to get that shot with a damaged gun through his cupola. We'll take that, because that shot doesn't happen all too often. So we're up to 964 damage with 331 assistance, made that 472 assistance. We've blocked 1,110. We've also got penned quite easily by the Mantis, and we've lost a few hit points as well to the other guys as we were trying to poke out to shoot the Tiger 2. So I'm going to drive out, try and get some shots into this 112, but again, you can see we've got a damaged gun, so it's taking a wee bit to be able to get the gun aimed in. That second shot goes straight underneath him because, well, damaged gun problems, and the third shot goes in and pens the 112. We were always aiming for that track so we could try and track and pen him, making it easier for me to be able to get the damage. 1574 damage so far with 711 assistance damage, and we're not on many hit points. We do have to be careful, but currently these vehicles in front of me don't scare me too much, as there's the Tiger 1. So we put one shot into the Tiger 1's upper plate, and again, I feel like this is one of those tanks. You know when you see a Tiger 1, you just go, ooh, lunch. So we put all 3 shots in. I was looking if I could pen him anywhere with 88mm of pen, but realistically, I was only going to pen him with the 45mm gun in the side with 88mm of penetration, as the front of the Tiger 1 has 100mm of armour. So, yeah, it was never going to happen. So we're going to push after the Tiger 2 now. If we can get rid of that Tiger 2, that would be great, because then we can progress on into the rest of the enemy team and push out to win this game. So looking for that lower plate shot currently, but we can't quite see it. Was just seeing if I could get a shot at the Panzerjäger in the distance, because we're always paying attention to what's going off on the map as well. And with the Tiger 2 being dead now behind us, I can push in to try and kill the 112. So we RBRT into him, fire through the destructible wall, finish him off, then the LTG, get the RBRT in again, we'll take that, as that wasn't the most well aimed, and we're up to 2.6k damage with 808 assistance. We switch back to the standard AP, and now we're going to go with the 45mm gun, so we can get some shots into this Iron Rain. And that's where the 45mm again can be quite nice, because you will have those down times with this autoloader where you're just sitting and waiting for the reload, and then you're watching damage pass you by. Whereas if you're firing at stuff like Iron Rains, Ball Sigs, any lightly armoured vehicle, you can just keep the damage flowing with that 45mm gun. And it means you're not always just sitting out awkwardly going, I need to reload, I need to reload. And that can be a nice thing for the Ortherus generally. So we tried to get a shot into the Scourge, we sadly bounced on his side, but we finished the game with the epic victory. 2 kills, 2.7k damage, 808 assistance, Steel Wall, the second class with 1442 base XP. Average game there for the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS on that map, which was Wide Park. So now we're on to the third and final replay of this video, and we're on this map, which is Live Oaks. And on Live Oaks, in this tank, I could do one of two things. I could either go down the AB line and brawl in the town, or I could go to the train tracks, win those, and then push out of the train tracks back towards the town and fight that way, or just try and take the enemy base. Now, I do prefer the train tracks in general. If I've got a tank that's got decent gun depression, or I know that I could push with, I do like going this way, because going out of the town along the 1-2 line can be very, very awkward, because they have a lot of positions along the E line that they can take, that they can stay unspotted in, or they can just absolutely blap you as you try and exit the town, and you just lose a lot of hit points doing it. So it can be super frustrating, even though that could be a very good spot for this tank, because the armor can be used very, very effectively in there. I just took it down to the train tracks, because yeah, why not? So we're coming down to the train tracks, and the thing you want to do from our spawn especially, and from both spawns generally, is take the dip. If you're going to do it, take the dip. If you don't take the dip, you generally don't do very well with this flank. It's dip or die. That's always the way you want to be. So we see the HMH-58. We get one shot into him. I thought he was going to pull back, but he doesn't, so we get a shot into the back of him. A third shot towards him, but sadly, it doesn't end up going through. So unfortunately we didn't kill him, but we did get 637 damage from that HMH-58. Now we're going to put the pressure on the BZ-58, because they've got 3 tanks on this flank so far. There's nothing else really been spotted. We want to win this flank if we can. So because we've got the armor, because we've got the ability to do so, we're going to put the pressure on. We've got a fully loaded clip, and we're going to try and get rid of this BZ-58 and then put pressure on the medium tank on my right as well. So you can see the awkwardness of the gun depression coming into play here. The T-28 Prot ends up putting a shot through me with absolute ease, which is part of the frustration of the tank, to be honest, is the fact that you go, aha, I have armor. Oh, well, thank you. We finally get the gun depression to be able to shut down the BZ-58. The T-34-85's trying to get shots into our side, just waiting for the gun depression to drop so we can finish him off, and we don't even quite get there to be able to do it. Again, just showing you a bit of the awkwardness of the KTTS there with its just the gun depression at times. 5 degrees can be so frustrating as you're trying to just get the gun. You're like, come on, gun, come on, get down, please, so I can shoot. Oh, they're dead. Sad times, and that's the way it can be for the Ortherus. So now we're going to go put pressure on the T-28 Prot, and I really wish I'd loaded Premium. Why? Because I would have been able to go through him with Premium to be able to go through his turret. But I can't go through his turret with my standard 227mm pen. I can go through his side, however, and that's what we managed to get, especially with a shot into the side, into the Iron Rain as well while he was spotted, which we did know he was back there. I was hoping when I poked I would spot him, I'd get a little bit of assistance for him getting shot, but I didn't really get any assistance, but we did get that tank shut down, which is good. So we get tracked by the RE in front of the T-28 Prot. He ends up bouncing. I feel like he just fired HE at me with the sound of what happened there. Don't know why he did, but he did, and that meant that he did no damage. There's now the 1375 that we are behind. I don't think he realises we're here. So we get a shot into him with the main cannon, switch to the multi-weapon system really quickly, which the multi-weapon system sets him on fire. That's beautiful. And with setting him on fire, it meant that he was actually slower to get away as well, which got us the second shot from this auto-loader into him. We didn't manage to get the third one in, but we're up to 2.4k damage with 209 assistance. And their team is still, they're only 2 tanks down, but at this point we're starting to smell blood in the water. I want to push up, get above the ridgeline here at HG4, because I should be able to spot whatever is at E2, and then my people that might be at J3 or the people that are at H7 can also then shoot what I spot. But I want to be able to get up that little bit closer to the hill, which is why I've come a little bit further round to be able to make sure that I'm going to spot them. So we get spotted instantly, and I'm like, oh, I didn't see what it was. There it is. It's the Barask. We get the shot in to shut down the Barask, go for the shot into the VK-3002M and finish him off as well. And that's what we wanted to do. And then we find a Javelin, which, because we're reloading our main autoloader, we shoot straight to the 45mm gun so that we could get some shots into that Javelin. And that, again, it ticked our damage up by 2 shots, which we'll take, because that's damage we wouldn't have got before, right? So it's 2.7k damage with 300 assistance, and we're just now on the chase of this javelin, which realistically, we're chasing a tank in the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS. It's not, chasing a tank doesn't go very well because, well, you're seeing it. This tank is slow. The one thing that also is a bit frustrating about the standard KTTS and the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS is even though you have pretty good accuracy at 100 meters at 0.3, the gun can still be a bit derpy because it takes that little bit to get it aimed in. You can occasionally just have shots that go absolutely nowhere near where you're aiming, and that can be super duper frustrating when you're playing this vehicle, especially when you've got a downtime on the autoloader. So do be careful of that in your KV-4 KTTS. So we've seen the javelin on our left. He has got spotted. We're also chasing the BZ-176, so I've put myself in the best position to get shots at that guy while also finding the ability to get after the BZ. So we bounced the first shot, bounced the second shot, and penned the third shot, and then missed with the 45mm. That's where the gun can be a bit frustrating, because the first shot, we had the whole side of his tank, and it went up and hit the gun and bounced. The second shot had most of the side of his tank, but again, I was kind of a bit frustrated that I missed the first one, so we ended up aiming a little bit too low, and we ended up hitting the side of the tank and did tracks for no damage, which is because we shot the tracks too low, and that meant there was no tank behind where the shell went, where the tracks is, which is what happens most of the time when you get tracks for no damage. And that meant we did no damage on that javelin. And then the other shots with the 45mm gun, which is a bit derpy, ended up missing, and we sadly didn't get any more damage for it. But we do finish the game with the decent total there, with the victory. 3 kills, 3.1k damage, 300 assistance, a little bit of blocked. The second class with that 1529 base XP. A pretty decent game there for the Ortherus KV-4 KTTS. And those 3 replays just showed off what the KTTS is like. It can be a bit frustrating at times because you're a bit too slow. The armor can be a bit frustratingly inconsistent, but that autoloader is pretty nice for it compared to the standard KTTS and just makes that a little bit nicer to play. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!